For the month of July, to celebrate 250 years of freedom, get 3 months of unlimited jiu-jitsu, plus your choice of a free gi or no gi set for just $250. This July, as we celebrate 250 years of freedom, invest in something that lasts. Build strength. Build confidence. Build lifelong friendships. Build faith. Build something that can't be bought, only earned. At the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team, real growth happens on the mat and carries into every part of life. Experience life-changing, rock-solid jiu-jitsu in a faith-first, family-friendly environment. Don't just celebrate freedom. Build the kind of life that's worth fighting for. Happy 250th Independence Day. God bless our community. God bless Colorado. And God bless the USA.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Carry Podcast, episode 107 today. Excited to have another episode today. This is following the incredible fight that was Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway. I know it didn't disappoint anyone out there. It was an absolutely action-packed fight. Did you get to tune into that? And you heard
only the first 30 seconds.
Okay, good. You saw the whole thing, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, I felt bad for the guy.
Man. Yeah, it's hard not to feel bad.
I mean, that's a bummer way to go down.
That was horrible, man. I can't imagine the mental toll that it's got to take on somebody for there to be two fights in a row that are supposed to be your comeback fights.
Yeah.
And it ends in leg injury like that. That's awful.
Yeah, it looked like a weird plant.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of people very upset. I mean, I get it. Everybody was super hyped up to see this, wanted to see some action, and then for it to end that quickly and that unexpectedly is such a disappointment.
Yeah.
And a lot of people lost a lot of money.
Yeah, buddy.
So, that definitely adds to the frustration for a lot of people out there. Hey, you know what that means? It probably means maybe you shouldn't
bet.
Maybe you shouldn't be gambling so much,
Don't bet.
But I figured we'd have a little fun to start out the episode and then get into some deeper topics. First and foremost, I brought a little something that I wanted to show. I've had it on the show before, but I don't know if I had it in this holster before. So I've got this gun that's pretty cool. It's a pocket gun. And this pocket gun, actually, I have a holster for it that makes it look and feel like a wallet. You see that on the camera right there? Look at this. This is actually a gun. Watch. I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to make sure I'm not flagging anybody. This is actually a gun, and this is a Diamondback DB9. It's not the smoothest shooting gun or acting gun on the planet, but it actually has this nice leather holster that has snaps that you can snap on, make it to where you can put it in your pocket. It doesn't profile, and it looks just like a wallet or a cell phone in your pocket. But you can also unsnap it, and then this shapeature actually, a lot of times I'll carry it in my pocket like this because it still doesn't really have much of a print, even like this, because of this piece that has the buttons on it. It keeps it from printing as a firearm, at least majority of the time. And then I have on this also installed a belt clip that's right here, so you can carry it like this. I probably wouldn't recommend it without something to hold the trigger back from accidentally being pulled. But I mean, if you don't carry one in the chamber, then that's probably a non-issue for you. I do carry one in the chamber, so I like to have something covering the trigger guard for sure. But it's a good little gun. It's 6+1. And it's really small, but it's 9 millimeter. It's not a 380. It's 9 millimeter, and it's like $250.
And it's a pocket gun, literally.
Literally a pocket gun.
Literally a pocket gun. A wallet pocket gun.
This is a wallet gun.
Yeah.
This is a wallet gun. I think that's the viral hook that needs to go on.
That's right.
Look at this wallet gun. Snaps on just like this. Put it in your pocket, and you're good to go. Just like that.
Was a Diamondback?
Diamondback DB9.
So it's like a mini AR.
That's right.
That's cool. We haven't done show and tell in a while.
No, it's been way too long, so I
Yeah.
figured we should probably do that.
That is very cool.
Yeah, and now we have a guy that's on the show regularly that actually works, pretty in sync with the gun store. So maybe we'll have some more.
We'll
fun
probably have a
stuff.
toy or two. I was tinkering with a shotgun the other day that I'll leave nameless until I can bring it on. But yeah, I fell in love with it.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we should have some specialty stuff come in.
good.
Yeah, we'll
That'd be
promote
fun.
it. Yep.
That'd be really fun. But have you seen this video? I'm about to play it right now. I have it already pulled up on the screen. Have you seen this video of this?
Oh yeah,
You've seen this?
dude. This guy got some serious air.
All right, so this guy in Yellowstone National Park gets attacked by a bison. And this is the best video that I could find that actually you can see the entire thing. You can see the bison just kind of sitting there hanging out, and then you see across the road, there's two people photographing. The older guy with the white beard is the unfortunate fellow who ends up getting targeted. I think it's the beard. It was probably the beard moving
probably
in
the
the
beard.
wind.
Yeah.
I don't know if that white truck probably didn't help much either, because that got the bison excited there. And here the bison's going trudging through the trees. He's looking for something to charge, and
The guy's moving, isn't he?
the older guy makes it out of there, man.
He's moving.
Whoever he was with, I think he must have been looking out for, because he goes back around
Yeah.
the trees again. It's like Ring Around the Rosies here. And
Yeah.
then he pops out again. Oh no! And here it comes.
Yeah.
And then boom, gets launched, and he has sustained some serious injuries from this. Unfortunately, I mean, it'd be hard not to. That's quite a bit of height. But whenever I saw this, this is the world we're living in. I'm like, is this real, or is this AI? And then when I saw this full video where it's starting with the bison laying down and rolling around in the dirt,
Look at the
and truck-
size of this thing when he gets out.
massive,
Dude.
massive.
Like, look at the truck in the background. Look how big that thing is.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
This is the video that let me know definitively. Yeah, this is not AI. This really happened. It's just crazy, man.
I don't know where the lady went to. I wonder if
I think
just
she must have dipped back.
If she just like laid down in the ground or something.
climbed a tree.
Yeah. Well, there's not that thing. That thing was super. I don't think I've ever seen a bison move like that before.
That's crazy, man. I mean, I've seen videos of bulls doing that to people, but that's way higher than I can remember anybody being launched by a bull. I mean, that guy was at least like one story up in the air.
Yeah, 10 feet for sure. I did not. Somebody said, whoever got to him first said his response was crazy, and I don't know what his response was. I got to listen to that video.
All right, so definitely deep diving now straight into
here we
something,
go.
because we talked on the last episode, we talked about flock cameras and the issues that we're already facing in Colorado. On that episode, we actually heard from some of the listeners, one of them being Jason, and he was like, you know what you really need to cover and talk about? The police officers that are getting arrested for misuse of flock cameras. There are literally police officers all over the country that have been and continue to be arrested and charged for using flock cameras to stalk
People.
their girlfriends,
Yeah.
to stalk their ex-wives, you
Yeah.
name it. And this is a short clip that's just talking about this. Listen, if we can hear. Let me see if I can. There we go.
9 more officers arrested for using flock cameras to intimidate and stalk citizens. This brings the total to 21 officers arrested for this.
Just yesterday in Greene County, a deputy was arrested and fired. Quenisha Goss accessed flock data for personal reasons multiple times over the course of 3 months without law enforcement justification. A similar story in South Georgia. 5 Albany officers were arrested
over
on
20
Monday. You see their names listed there.
officers
The GBI
now
says an
arrested,
internal audit found that the
for
officers
using these.
used the flock system multiple times for non-law enforcement purposes. All of those officers have been fired. And just a few weeks ago in Cherokee County, our own Atlanta News First investigation found these 3 deputies have been fired for allegedly misusing flock. Sergeant Mike Creedon, Lieutenant Chris Ryan, and Deputy Cynthia Jodeci were all charged earlier this week.
And let me remind you, these are only the ones that we know about. These are being investigated. People are finding that this is happening.
That's true.
in
That's a
other
good way to
towns
sign
as
that
well.
off. These just the ones that we know about. But I mean, you can speak intelligently to this, just being a former police officer. I mean, on one hand, it's probably got a way of kind of rightfully separating a lot of probably just bad cops that you didn't want to be cops in the first place if they're not able to, conduct themselves professionally on personal fronts, representing the law enforcement office, representing the badge. But it's definitely concerning to think that there's police officers that can just go in here and just use it for personal. Obviously, they're getting fired. There's consequences, but they can still do it. They're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's been around for a long time, long before Flock was ever there. I mean, you operate under color of authority, you have the ability to take somebody's freedom, and it's a very serious deal. I mean, imagine going up to somebody and saying, I'm taking your ability to move. I'm taking you from here to a jail for this thing based on probable cause. It's very serious. I mean, like, I don't take arrests lightly. And when you have somebody who's, I served my whole career, two guys that I ever saw do anything that I unequivocally I went after. And they were both terminated. So, I mean, just for what it's worth. But back in the day, and then, by the way, this is still around. It's what every law enforcement agency uses is NCIC. So you're driving down the roadway, cars in front of you, speeding, you run the plate. That immediately goes into NCIC. Social security numbers, serial numbers, anything with a number, a name associated with it, and that's how you track it. So a simple example would be I'm a street cop here in Colorado. I pull over somebody for speeding. I go up. I run their license after they give it to me, and it comes back with a warrant out of Florida. Florida entered it into the system. That's how you track everything because it goes back and forth. And the system works actually pretty flawlessly. It's pretty amazing. This technology's been around for a long, long time, and it's only gotten better. But it's your information sharing. So that way you know what you're dealing with. You know who you're dealing with. So if something flags, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the person will be under arrest. It could be a non-extraditable warrant. And you go back up as the cop and go, hey, did you know you have a warrant out of Florida? And they go, yeah, I moved from Florida 5 years ago. I don't plan on paying the ticket. Okay, well, just so you know, if you ever go back to Florida, more than likely you're going to get arrested. That kind of stuff happens, I'm sure, hundreds, if not thousands of times a day. Warrants are issued all the time. Where this comes into play is you're driving down the roadway and you're following somebody because you think your other half is cheating on you, and you decide to start doing your own personal investigation and you start running plates and different things. That type of stuff has always been around. Where the camera usage comes in, it's just taking it a step further. So now it's easier to access because now you can see it in real time, as opposed to just accessing a system. You're actually watching it develop and you're using it for illegal gain. What caught my attention there is one of those guys was a lieutenant, one was a sergeant. I don't know how big the agency was, but that means one of those guys have been promoted at a bare minimum once, and one of them at least twice, if not three times. So you have somebody who should, I mean, they should all know better, but that guy should have known better three times over. So, I mean, I have zero remorse for anybody that violates the color of authority and uses the badge for personal gain. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If you put chocolate cake in front of a dog, they're going to eat it.
Yeah.
Horrible analogy here, but kind of.
It's a great analogy. It's true.
I mean, here's the thing. If you're giving a tool that's so powerful and so easily able to be misused, you're just giving temptation. And I mean, I think it's pretty unanimous for a lot of people out there. Flock cameras is the worst idea ever. To be able to have them in times of crisis and have that regulated, I guess that there's some arguments to be made. There's some cases where it's like, yeah, that'd be awesome to have cameras that we can centrally access to be able to solve crimes. But it's never going to stop there.
Well, it hasn't. Sorry, it's long since surpassed that, and that's the whole point to it. So, look, when people come to me and they go, "What do you think of flock cameras?" I go, "Well, if it was my kid that was kidnapped and the camera could catch that car getting away, yay for the camera, yay for the system. If it's being used for this type of stuff and or just nefarious stuff and or everyday junk that nobody wants to be spied on, it's two totally different things. But you got to put it into context. I mean, I know people are enraged over this stuff, but you have cameras here in the gym. You have cameras at a house, right? So you're
all of which are privately accessed.
Privately accessed, but you're protecting your particular environment. Well, the law enforcement is protecting all of environment out there, right? So law enforcement is not protecting the inside of your home. They're protecting the curtilage of your home. And therefore, if somebody comes onto your property... Curtilage. The surrounding... Sorry.
Curtilage.
It's... Your house, your yard goes out to the sidewalk. The edge of the sidewalk becomes the town or the cities. They maintain it. They own it.
I wish that was the case.
Your HOA, we can really rabbit trail this stuff and have some fun. Your HOA can dictate whether or not you shovel the snow in front of your house for slip and fall.
Unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional. But they do it, right? But semantics aside, I don't want to go down that rabbit trail. The point is when the cops are patrolling the street, there's a guy and they see somebody walk onto your property with burglary tools. I mean, let's keep this really simple. Somebody walks on and they got a pry bar in their hand. The guy's wearing a ski mask in the middle of the summertime and it's 3 a.m. I would hope that everybody would understand that the cop is going to go, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?" And if the guy takes off running and he's carrying a burglary tool in his hand, chances are he's a burglar. We all want those guys caught, right?
Of course.
Okay. All right. So they're protecting society is the point. Those cameras can assist in some of those things because thoroughfare movement, you see it, the bad guy escapes on foot, gets into a car, starts driving. Dispatch is looking, going, okay, now we've got the car and we can track the car. So when you have a crime in progress, that to me is very, very, very different than spying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I just think it is. This technology is everywhere. It's in the military, it's in law enforcement. You walk into a hospital, there's cameras in there. And yes, it's protecting the hospital, but it's for security reasons. And then if you have something break bad, they turn that evidentiary value over to law enforcement and it's investigated. Without that, we wouldn't even be talking about the Charlie Kirk case right now because Utah Valley's private. UVU is private, right? Mm-hmm. But the FBI is coming in and gaining warrants to get into their system to look at their cameras. I mean, like that. So cameras have a huge value to tell a story afterwards and sometimes even in the moment. My problem with this is the overreach, and we could come up with, I mean, if we brought Grant Vanderjay, or however you say his last name, sorry, Grant. I always call him Grant Vanderjack because I thought it sounded cool, like Vanderjack. I think it's Vanderjay, but he's an attorney. I think he's pretty much diametrically opposed to flock cameras. It'd be a fun conversation to sit down and go, what do you think from an attorney perspective? Mm-hmm. Have George Rockler sit in this chair and have Grant sit in that chair. Let's hash out flock cameras. I mean, it'd be I think it'd be a good conversation because I think there's usefulness for them. Clearly, they're popping up everywhere, but there is an obvious, as you said, you put chocolate cake in front of a dog, he's going to eat it. You got people, well, that goes back to hiring, integrity, polygraphs, blah, 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 blah. I go to the old adage, you can cage an animal, you can't take away the rage. Mm-hmm. You can take a guy and you can put him through all the tests in the world and he's still going to get scarred if his wife cheats on him and does something and he's going to go stalk that guy and track him down. It's not the right thing to do. He's acting outside of the law, but it's still human nature. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying that's what people will do and that's what they're doing and that's what they're getting caught. Mm-hmm. And that's just an example. There's multiple examples that you could use.
Well, here's the thing. Whenever you see the police officers are doing this, they're not at the top of the food chain whenever it comes to intelligence and surveillance. Mm-hmm. Police officers, it's not to take anything away from them. We're thankful for our boys in blue, mm-hmm. and we're thankful for the job that they do. We've got incredible servicemen and women all over the country, and we're thankful for the good ones. But I think that something like this, showing that flock cameras can and are so easily abused and misused mm-hmm. for personal reasons, it's so telling that if it's happening at that level and these people can't help themselves but use it for these personal reasons.
Right.
Can they help themselves? Yes, of course they can help themselves. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be abuse and misuse at the top. If it's at the bottom, it's going to be at the top.
More than likely.
I mean, this is telling of human psychology. Whenever you give somebody power, a lot of people are going to choose to misuse that and abuse it. And if we're dumb, and if we've taken the pill to where we think that it's not happening at the top of surveillance, at the top of intelligence, then we have fooled ourselves.
Sure.
Because there is misuse and abuse of these types of systems. It's not just flock cameras. I mean, look at Edward Snowden. Mm-hmm. Look at everything that he blew the whistle on. Mm-hmm. I mean, the abuse and misuse of, and this is the thing, as we allow flock cameras to just become more normal and commonplace, it's only going to get worse and worse. We'll see policies being written that are going to make the lines even more gray as far as what is abuse, what is misuse, what are ways that the law enforcement can use them, who can use them,
sure,
and for what reasons. It's going to continue to just drift in a direction that we will most likely never be able to bureaucratically recover from.
Sure.
You know, that's the concern.
Let's shift this half of 1 degree only. So let's take the same cameras and the speed cameras and all that stuff that are now running up and down I-25. So I drove clear up to Longmont twice within 4 days about a month ago. So I know I saw the sign the first time, and as I was driving back up the second time, I saw it, and sure enough, it said cameras side of the roadway. They will capture your speed. It's essentially telling you a story. It will capture your speed over a certain period of time, and if it's established that you're going X amount of speed over a certain period of time, you're going to receive a ticket. And there's no more. I mean, people would argue, oh, this is great because then you don't have to have, you don't have to go buy a police car, and you don't have to have somebody monitoring the roadway, and which is just the dumbest argument in the world, because then you're taking the actual response window and the response time of a cop who's actually going to be out there. But this is just a money revenue deal. It's a marketing scheme. It's all it is. It's garbage. Any agency that says otherwise is lying to you. But I will say, here's the but factor. So you have something like that. It's instilled. It ticks everybody off. You get your $250, $300 ticket in there, and they'll say, well, but you were speeding. And then you get into the whole calibration issue, and how do you determine that? And that was an argument back in the day when there was radar guns and blah, blah, blah. One of the reasons I was like VASCAR, and I'm rabbit trailing for a second, but I'm going to make a point on insurance here. VASCAR is two fixed points in speed distance. So once you have that measurement, math doesn't lie, as opposed to having calibration. If I just have 2 fixed points in time, and you do the measurement of how long it travels, it takes to, say a 35 zone, 45 zone, 55 zone, whatever, pure math will show you how fast somebody's going in that zone once you have those 2 fixed objects. It's an old school math way of doing it, but it never lies. Now we've gotten into the age of technology because we want to make everything better. Put these cameras out here, people get charged, it ticks them off, their insurance rates go up. Now to the insurance portion of it. All of these companies, every single one of them that are out there, I don't know which one to attribute to which, but I'm just going to start throwing out names. DriveWise. Plug that little thing into your ODD2 port on your car, save 15% a month on your insurance. Okay. Sure. Right.
How much money are you making selling my data?
So selling data. You are also monitoring through the internals of the car that is designed now to report to the OBD2 port everything. So when you pull your car into the dealership and you got a problem, the first thing they do is they come out with a little handheld device and they go click and they punch it in and they go, oh, here's the error code on your engine. Well, the insurance companies caught on to that years ago, and somebody goes, oh, I got a really good idea. Since everything is regulated in the car and it monitors speed and it monitors all these other things and it can show where a malfunction is, why don't we just develop a system that will monitor everything that you're doing with your driving, and we'll sell it as a feature to you that you're saving on your insurance. What they're really doing, not some conspiracy theory, I've only talked to like 7 or 8 agents. I'll leave them nameless so they don't get their places firebombed. They take the information and actually raise your rates with it, because if they find that you're going X amount of speed at all above the posted speed limit, they will say you're an unsafe driver, falls into a category. Whether you're speeding, whether you get a ticket or not, they will regulate your rate based on just that. And I could go on and on and on and on. So who's ripping off who more? The insurance companies or the state charging you? Well, they're both ripping you off, and you should be mad both ways. But they sell it. They sell one as safety, and then they sell the other one as, oh, you're saving money on insurance. No, it's tracking everything you're doing. And I don't just mean like where you're going. I mean, it's tracking how you're driving physically through that port. And people they have no idea that that's what's going on. And all of a sudden they're like, man, I've got 4 cars. I'm saving all of a sudden $100 a month. This is great, $1,200 a year. And then a year later, their insurance rates go up $1,500. I'm like, well, wait a second. What just happened? Well, you got a list of data. And I've sat right there with an agent, and the agent has printed it off, and he goes, here's your history.
Yep.
And you go,
just got got.
You just got got. That's exactly right. And so that's like a flock camera, except for you're paying the insurance company to monitor you to tell you now owe them a penalty. So what makes you matter? The camera outside that potentially could save the life or help in a very egregious situation, right? A bad felony, something happening, DUI, hit and run, death. I mean, there's a lot of different things that a flock camera, it's just a camera, it's just tracking stuff. But if it helps the cops catch the bad guy, that's like, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But when it's used for other things, including malfeasance and stuff like this, then it's horrific. So where do you find the balance? I don't know. And once it gets introduced, to your point, it just takes off running. Well, the same thing with these insurance companies. How do I know it? Because only one of the companies started with it. Now all the companies have it. Every single company out there has something that you can plug into your car that is sold as a good thing. And rates just keep going up and up and up.
Yep.
So if this thing was really working and it was really safer and it was really, the rates would be going down. And that's just rudimentary math. But
Well,
I yield the floor.
we briefly mentioned HOAs unconstitutionally making people have to shovel their sidewalks. That was a joke. But here is something that I have saved that we were going to talk about today about HOAs. Here's the news. Here's the headline. San Diego County residents refused to take down their American flags after their HOA demanded they do so, threatening $100 fines. But here's the thing. Nope, flag isn't coming down. Nope, one resident said. Some residents have now retained an attorney to defend themselves against the Ambiance Owners Association. We do it in support of those who have fought and have died for our country, including my grandfather, who died in World War II, said this resident, Chris Cook. Patriots. This is
not new news. It's current, ongoing, never stopping news. HOAs, again, I'm not here to plug Grant, but Grant is actually against HOAs too.
Good.
Yeah. He came out, I read an article that he wrote, and he said, he goes, it might be one of, if not, I think he said, if not one of my number one issues, my top three or something along that line, that we should be addressing our HOA overreach. And because he's an attorney and he deals with this stuff all the time. This right here, this should probably, I don't know if it should tick everybody off, but it should tick 99.99999% of everybody off.
Yeah.
There's probably a 0.0001 out there that, but yeah.
Well, I think of this.
The HOA is not going to tell me whether I'm going to fly an American flag.
Of course not.
In any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no. $100 fine? No.
Can I tell you a super quick story?
Yes, please.
A buddy of mine was told to trim the branches back hanging over the fence because they were going to paint the fence. And I told you about our paint fence issue and stuff we had going on. So our house was built 18 years ago. The fences are 18 years old, and they're like, you guys got to stain to the new color. And people are like, dude, the boards are falling off the fence. And then they came back and said that, sorry, you still got to stain it. And oh, by the way, you got to trim your tree. So he did. He trimmed all of his trees, every one of them.
Okay.
And then he loaded them into a trailer, and he went down to the HOA office in downtown Castle Rock, and he dropped off all the branches at their front door. Okay. In about a 12-foot pile.
Nice.
And he said, here you go. There you go. That's it. That's the whole story.
How'd they like that?
I don't know.
Man, I want to hear the ending of that story.
I have a feeling somebody came down and went, holy crap, we're probably in violation of having wood on the sidewalk. And the town probably fined the HOA. My whole point to it is he's like, oh, we're going to play that game? Okay, well, I'll be juvenile and I'll play a game back. I'm not advocating saying that the game should have been played. What I'm saying is we're pressing people into positions where they have nowhere to go. And we've talked about this on the show. And I'm going from zero to high volatility quick, but this stuff is only going to end when people are in a coffin. We are going to hit Civil War status because it's little things like this. Press a button, and then another button, and another button. You're talking about flying the American flag.
Yeah.
Go back 20 years ago, look at aerial views of houses around the United States. Almost everybody had an American flag. Come nowadays, you'll find one, and I bet I could drive. My cul-de-sac is unique. I have 4 in my cul-de-sac, and we have 12 houses. 4 that fly the flag that I see. One of them actually has a flag pole. 4th of July, everybody was decorated. It was cool. Christmas, we have the best cul-de-sac in Castle Rock. Everybody lights up, and it's fun. If you drive through our neighborhood, it's one in maybe every 15 to 20 houses.
We should probably fix that. I think more houses need an American flag flying in the front of it.
I got a whole thing going on in my head that I'm getting ready to unveil.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's needed. The overreach doesn't stop at the HOAs. I mean, the HOAs trying to get people for flying flags. This is probably one of the worst examples. This one just makes people's blood boil, and I think rightfully so. You should be able to fly your country's flag where you live, where you're paying to live.
Give me the reason why you can't.
Because there's people who hate America that are.
But HOAs do this all the time. Why in an HOA? Why an HOA?
I think it's because there's people in HOAs that hate America. I think that it's because they're wanting people that hate America to be welcome in America. And that's not logical. But they've somehow made logic of it. I genuinely think that that's it. They're thinking that if they're flying an American flag, that some people aren't going to feel welcome in our neighborhood, and so they should not fly their American flag. That is what I think. I mean, that's the only thing that makes even a remote amount of sense to me. Not that it makes sense, but that's the only thing that I think is logical, because we've seen this happen, where this is happening all over in our country, where we've talked about this. People that are practicing Sharia law screaming death to America, and
which is
it's
perfectly
happening
okay and
all
on
over
Facebook. Yeah.
But then it's not okay to fly an American flag in your HOA.
I just don't understand the HOA point. Like, I don't. These things pop up all the time, and they go get an attorney and they fight the HOA. That's why Grand is ticked off about it. That's why other people ticked off. But why? Like, why? So you think that your assertion is they hate America? I think it's a money grab. I think it's a power control thing.
I guess that would make sense. I mean,
They tell you what color you can paint your house.
Yeah, they're always trying to look for those little things to try to find residents. I can see that as a point. But I think of Overreach definitely not stopping there. Here's one thing, and it doesn't stop at HOAs. It also, like you made the example of this person dropping off those branches at the HOA office. That HOA office probably got a fine from the town.
I mean, I don't know if they did, but it would be funny if they did.
So from the town, there's also incredible examples of overreach, even right here in Castle Rock. Whenever we first opened the gym, I got a teardrop flag, and I had it flying right off the side of the road where that's our property. We own the property. I put up this flag, and it just had the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team now open. Castle Rock came and pulled the flag out of the ground and put it down. And then I got a letter saying we don't allow some kind of wind waving flags in the town as a local ordinance. And I thought somebody came onto our property, pulled up my property, put it on the ground, and then sends me a letter that I can't fly a flag promoting my business on my own property.
I would have charged him with criminal mischief and trespass.
I mean, seriously.
I would have.
The overreach, the examples are endless.
Yeah.
That's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. If you are somebody who buys commercial property and goes through all the over-bureaucratized process of developing something in Castle Rock, which it is brutal. It is I mean, tap fees to just tap into sewer and water, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's the most dumb thing that you could ever imagine. And it's all just the town wanting to cash and make money. And then they continue to make more and more hoops throughout the process. You think you have it figured? You think that you know what you're going to be required of you to be able to develop, and then they throw something else at you. And it happens throughout. And you have to pay all of these sureties. You have to pay all this kind of stuff that really you should be able to, in the concept of America with our constitutional freedoms and rights, you should be able to go buy a property and develop it. Does there have to be some safety protocol if you're serving the public? Sure, yeah. But at the end of the day, we have insurance, don't we?
Yep.
So if stuff goes wrong, I mean, it really should be taking more out of the government's hands. And at that point, I don't know. I'm not really a huge advocate for insurance either, so I don't even want to say put it in insurance's hands. But I'm going to say it should not be what it is now. It should not be this giant process to where everything is just totally bureaucratized to the point of you cannot buy property and build without having to just empty every pocket to the government.
Yeah, I'm trying to find something right now, searching. So I read it this morning. Girl puts a post out. So it has to do with the Douglas County Commissioners here, which, oh, dude, don't even get me going on them. She did a report. So they've approved funding. It has to do with what's the new one off Titan Road, the big development that they built up there 3 years ago. This is Crystal Valley. That's something Sterling Ranch.
Yeah,
Sterling Ranch.
Sterling
So there's some gal, I forget her name. They had a picture of her on there this morning. Young blonde lady. I think she was actually the owner. I think like her family owned the property or something. And Douglas County is approving tax dollars for. She's building a new school. I think that's what I read. New school, like elementary, like private something or other, like a Montessori school or something. Douglas County gave her $900,000 for the build. They're giving her $1.3 million for other things to include drone security for her own private deal. And people are digging into this, and they're finding that the commissioners have been. I personally think the commissioners here are as corrupt as the day is long, but I'm going to find the story. I'm going to actually put a video out on it today because it was infuriating as I was reading it this morning. And I've heard this lady's name repeatedly, and I don't know whether she's guilty or not or whether the commissioners are guilty. I want to dig into it. But the lady that was doing the review on it, she basically said, we need Nick Shirley out here. And she was really digging into it. And this gal is like some kind of a local, and she's mom turned investigative reporter, finding all this corruption in Douglas County politics, specifically the county commissioners. So she's like, and she's found several different cases of big money expenditures that Abe Lade and George Steele and Kevin Van Winkle have all endorsed.
Wow.
And so they're really under the microscope right now. George Steele, by the way, the Stolen Valor guy, the guy that said he was in combat when he was washing dishes over in Germany or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to find that and put it out. But this is the Overreach. The reason that one caught my attention was they're funding somebody privately.
Wow.
With tax dollars.
Man. Well,
allegedly. I have to use the word allegedly at the end.
Well, this is kind of going a little bit off topic because this doesn't really have anything to do with the town, I don't think. But we had all those crosses from the Carry Cross Challenge on the trailer. I needed my trailer back, so I put all of the crosses at the base of the retainer wall. So they're there right now. They're propped up against it. It's cool. You can see it from
your
behind.
Property?
You can see all these crosses. I came and I found out because my wife was getting decorations out of the trailer, that is because of bureaucracy. They won't let us build a shed without having to jump through incredible fees and expenses. So we have an enclosed trailer in the parking lot. Way cheaper than having to pay the government money that they want to build something as simple as a storage shed. We should be able to go to Home Depot and buy a storage shed that's halfway decent and just put it wherever we want. Be able to have the decorations for the coffee shop. That's ridiculous. But regardless, we were getting decorations out of the trailer, and we noticed a bunch of beer bottles and beer cans, like over there by where the crosses were propped up. And so I went and looked over. Majority of all of them had been knocked down. And so I don't know. It could have been the wind. I think that it wasn't, because just looking at the scene as it were, with all of the bottles everywhere laying around, I think somebody was messing with them. But we picked them up. We doubled down. We actually spread them out all the way across the retainer wall. And it looks great. There's like, I don't know, probably 12 crosses down there, maybe more than that. I don't know, and big crosses. And I think that it's cool. It's cool to have a place to put them where they're on display until the next Carry Your Cross Challenge. I haven't gotten a letter from the town on those yet.
It's on your property.
But it is, yes.
Okay, yeah.
It is. And it's a great way to give that retainer wall that's west facing a little more character than just, being a bunch of bricks.
Yeah. Have you ever gone over to the town facility where they store all of their equipment?
No.
They have sheds.
Really?
Big ones.
So they're allowed to.
Barns, sheds, buildings.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
built with your tax dollars. Look,
I'm not anti-government. They just don't let us do it.
I'm not anti-government. I think government should provide essential services. Water, roadway, protection, law enforcement. Once we start getting past that, then it starts becoming questionable in certain areas. Some of them could be argued, and others are like, wait a second. We're doing what? With what?
You're telling me that the government doesn't need to tell me what I can build on property that I buy?
I had the HOA come to my house once. We were doing actually at the neighbor's house who was getting ready to paint, and they came over, and I was listening to this discussion. I was outside. They said, and the neighbor was talking about something to do with a color, and the HOA, they were basically saying, we have to approve it, and this one particular color is not in our palette. And we're talking like taupe versus beige versus heather gray. We're not talking neon pink, right? We're talking a neutral color, and they're in this battle. And then the guy said, "Hey, look, I get it. I'm on your side, but you got to admit," he goes, the reason we have HOAs in America is so that we don't have people painting their houses, pink and polka dots." To which my neighbor said, "Have you ever seen a house painted pink with purple polka dots?" And the guy said no, and he goes, "Well, I think that's just kind of common sense that people wouldn't do that. So I don't really need you to tell me whether taupe versus beige is right." But that's to your point, that's the overreach. This is super, super common sense. I think we can handle this. I think we're okay. But by the way, we're paying for the paint and we're paying for the upkeep on our house. But thanks for coming in and telling me you're going to fine me $250 because you don't like the color of taupe or putty or whatever the color was that was as neutral as you could possibly get. And you're going to come to my house and you're going to single it out and you're going to sit down and have this conversation with me. That, I go back to, I think that's what infuriates people, because it's like, wait, what? And because there's common sense and then there's just stupidity and overreach. And we've gotten into the realm of stupidity and overreach. The flock cameras, all that stuff. Yeah, I think there's an absolute good use for them in high risk or high need areas. But for everything else short of it, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. I wanted to talk about this. I'm not sure if you've heard about this or not, but this has been talked about a lot lately. This is Section 219 of the draft of the National Defense Authorization Act, and this establishes the United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. You've heard of this?
I have.
So, this directs the Department of Defense to appoint an executive agent to integrate Israeli defense technology directly into sensitive U.S. weapons systems, including artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, cyber warfare, and quantum computing. Now, here, listen, it doesn't stop here.
That's important.
This is what Benjamin Netanyahu has to say about this. According to this post here, and this was a segment that was taken from Fox News, Benjamin Netanyahu admits that his plan to merge the Pentagon and the Israeli military will be forced upon Americans. Netanyahu says America and Israel must invest in new technology that will give them an advantage. I think the merging of our two great countries' talent would strengthen America's position on the battlefield. There are some unbelievable projects.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about this.
Okay. This is more of a curiosity question. Maybe we could make this into a short or a reel. So, BB, maybe I've missed it, but when was the last time that you jumped in and came over? I've never seen an Israeli jet flying over America.
You mean you haven't seen American jets flying over America?
No,
bad joke.
No, I've seen plenty of that. I'm just a little curious because what I know of right now, and maybe I'm missing something, but I'm pretty sure we just blew the crap out of Iran last night. And I'm not saying that he's not over there. What I'm saying is that I guarantee American armed forces have flown over Israel a lot. I don't think I've ever seen that the other way around. Maybe I've missed it. Maybe I've missed that somewhere. But if this is like a collaboration and we're going to be partnering together, are you going to be? Because I feel like what we are is you're talking smack and we're the bodyguard behind you so that you can talk smack. And then the second somebody steps in, we smack them down. That's what I think this is.
Yeah,
I think it's, hey, let me use my tough guy uncle and the mafia and whatever else that he believes America represents, so that his little sliver of land over there can stay protected by people and he can run around and tell people what they're going to do. That's how I read this. I mean,
there's so many people.
There's 40,000 directions we could go in with it.
100%.
Okay.
And I want to be diplomatic, as we are in all things, usually on this show.
You are.
And well, I try to be. But here's the thing. I mean, there's so many people, eyes are being opened to how Israel and the higher-ups there are really pulling a lot of the strings here in this country, if not majority or all of the strings here. I made the joke the other day with one of the guys here that's in the Army, hey, how's the job with Israel going? How is it working for Israel? And he's laughing and stuff and all this. But, I mean, this act, this is crazy. This is just one of those things that's showing how much further they're taking it as far as their involvement and their control over our country. From the military standpoint of things. They're integrating it into what they're trying to write into the actual ways that the military conducts itself.
Yeah, that's my point. You guys can do this. We'll tell you how to do it. And, oh, by the way, we're not going to do it with you. You're going to do it for us. That again, I only read this one way. It's one-dimensional. It's his control. It's our expenditure.
Yeah.
I mean, process it. Maybe I'm wrong. Push back. So they'll throw some money into this thing. They'll come over. But why are they integrating tech into our tech when we're the people fighting the wars? I mean, he's fighting a war right now against in the Gaza Strip. I will sit back and say that they've been going toe to toe with Palestine for years and years and years. I'm not arguing that. I get that the world wants to blow them up, allegedly. They're a sliver of land the size of Rhode Island or Ohio or whatever they are. I don't know. Lots of important elements within the Bible that comes back to Israel. So I'm not saying this like cynically across the board. I really struggle. It's kind of like we talked about this a few episodes ago when somebody said that Netanyahu is controlling Trump, and then somebody pushed back and said you can't say that, and then I immediately said yeah you are. Trump's being played. He's the marionette right now. Bibi's sitting here doing this with Trump. Now maybe black ops are up here doing it to Netanyahu and he's doing it to Trump, but at the end of the day, why would we get involved with this? Logistically speaking, why would we do it? Like, what's the gain? Why are we over there at all? Because I was always told, what I've heard for the last 20 years is Israel's our greatest ally. In what?
Yeah, what do they have? What do they have?
What do they bring to the table? Again, they flying over here keeping me safe. I didn't see 2 F-16 Israeli fighter jets come down I-25 on July 4th.
Yeah.
I saw American fighter pilots at about 300 feet above the floor going 600 miles an hour down I-25. That was pretty epic. I didn't see an Israeli flag flying off the back of anything. Look, I'm not against Israel. I think there's a lot of people that are, and I think there's a lot of reason people are questioning stuff. Stuff like this terrifies me, especially when you use the Q word.
What Q word are you talking about?
Right at the end of your little statement.
What?
Yeah. The whole dig into Q.
QAnon?
QAnon.
What?
Dig into the Q element. Just open up Q at some point. Israel, America, Trump, and just put in Q and watch what pops up. Watch what auto-populates and start digging into it. This is an episode within an episode that we need to dive into about where we're heading. This is the beginning of it right here. What he's talking about is what I'm referencing. Every American that cares about this country should be digging into Q.
Well, it's very obvious that there is Israeli government officials that are, like Netanyahu, incredibly, way more than they ever should be, influential, not even influential, but they are controlling in decisions being made in this country from the top down, which should not be the case, but it is. And to your point, whether that's, okay, somebody's above them pulling strings, which very likely is probably all the people at the top of the food chain, that are really probably not even people that are public figures. I would imagine it's a lot of people that are, whenever you have conversations with people that are intelligent on this stuff, we should probably have Jason on here at some point. He's just like, he can just spit and rattle off all kinds of stuff related to exactly what we're talking about. But talking about the evil cabal that people speculate runs the world, the people that own all the companies, own everything, have all the money, have all the control. Maybe there's that evil cabal behind the curtain that's pulling the strings, even pulling the strings above Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know. But to completely throw all of Israel under the bus, I think is wrong. I think that there's people in Israel that are not to blame for all of Israel's actions, just like that there's evil in America, and not every American is to blame for all the evil that happens in America. That would go for people all around the world. I don't think that it's fair to just blanket statement and just say Israel is evil, we can't support Israel anymore. Well, I think that there's people in Israel that are not guilty of the evil, corrupt decisions being made at the top. I think that there is very real wrong that Palestine has done over the years, and I think that there's very real wrong that Israel has done over the years as far as military decisions and war and conflict. And so I think that at the end of the day, America's objective should not be trying to prop up or support anyone over anyone else. It should just be, we are supposed to be stabilizing and promoting peace the best we can. But more importantly than that, getting back to this America first kind of conversation.
Thank you.
Staying in our lane. That's what I think a lot of people were hopeful for whenever we voted Trump into office for the second term. We have not seen that.
No.
We have not seen this America First policy that we were voting for whenever we were trying to get Trump back in the office, and then we got him back in the office. It's still been, man, it's what's gotten better in the country. Now, could things be worse? I'm sure that there's plenty of arguments to say that things could be worse if Kamala could have won. But at the end of the day, what really has been done to make life in America better? All the war, all the conflicts, all the tariffs, it has not helped us. I can tell you that as boots on the ground, being a business owner in the state of Colorado. Now, listen, I get it. There's also state issues that are on a state level. But what has been done in Trump's administration to actually make life in America for everyday American citizens, what has been done to make it where we have a better life right now?
Yeah. I don't know. I would have to really sit down and put pen to paper and think through that and dig.
And that's exactly the point.
I think there's
that's
some
exactly
things, but
the
you can't
point.
name it off the top of your head.
But that's exactly the point. You can't name it off. Are there some things that are a trickle down? Of course there is. Of course there's going to be some things, but that's exactly the point of what you just said. I'd have to sit down and think about it. Mm-hmm. If he was really fulfilling and keeping those things he was running his race on, we wouldn't have to sit down and think about it.
Sure.
We'd be able to just say, yeah, he did this, he did this, he said that he was going to do this, he promised this, and he delivered this. But there's nothing that we can look at and say, oh, he promised he was going to do this, he did it, and I can think of that right off the bat, right off the top of my head. None of it, you know?
So you'd have to go back. I mean, look, I'm of the age that I think, in all fairness, the last time I remember America being proud to be America, like legitimate, and I'm not talking about post 9/11 where we're like, let's go kick some butt, because that was an event, cataclysmic event, of course, that took thousands of lives and shocked the world. So I don't want to take away from the power of that, but I'm just talking about the general feel of I love my country. I want to see amazing things continue because we're loving our nation. Was when Ronald Reagan came into office in 1980, and when Reagan left in 88, I mean I can tell you this because I used to street race like every Friday night. You could relate to this on some level in your youth and some of the cars you drove.
Whoa! I admit to nothing.
No, you can understand it, Jared. I wouldn't say you did it. You were probably never guilty of owning a Ford ST and went out and drove really fast. I rode a Mustang 5-liter back in the day. It was my very first brand new car I bought. I bought it in 1988, and gas was $1.05 a gallon. America was an all-time high of excitement. Hair bands rocked the country. People loved going to school. American business was thriving. We had come from a 14-15% interest rate to buy a house under Carter and $5 or $6 a gallon. And, oh, by the way, Iran, let's not forget, here we are, Carter, Iran, take over the embassy, hostages, blah, blah, blah. Reagan comes in day one, goes and gets everybody back. You saw America become America again. Prior to that, you'd have to go to the 50s to truly find America is awesome, because then you're 10 years removed out of World War II. You're starting into the muscle car era. You're seeing manufacturing come to life in a different kind of way, because we learned so much through World War II with Rosie the Riveters that men went off to battle, women were building. They were in the factories building, and we learned how to build a country. We learned how to build homes. We learned how to culture together. And then that lasted for about 10 years, and then the race wars started, and then the hippie movement started, and then the drug movement started, and then cocaine was introduced into America for the first time. I mean, this is when it was essentially brought overseas to us through border, and ever since the 70s, we just went downhill. In the 70s, we started going downhill. Really, really bad under Carter. Reagan came in, and we cleaned all that up. And we had a 20-year run. And then We haven't seen anything since. And I would argue right now it's as bad as it's ever been. One from expenditure, cost, finances, labor wages, unemployment, cultural divide, racial divide, taxation, legislation, crazy, stupid laws, ripping apart families and kids, non-prosecutions of violent offenses. I mean, I'm naming all of this off the top of my head. I don't need to make a list.
Yeah.
What's the good? Reagan. Like that's where my head went. That's why I said I would have to sit down to really think of something and look at it.
All those things that you named, you were able to just name because it was clear. It was
Yeah.
it wasn't muddy. It wasn't murky.
Yeah, and also just and I'll finish with this. So this thing right here, I've said this. I know I've said it 14,912 times. So let's make it 13. Embellishment aside, I think that this is the downfall of man. I think this is the single greatest thing that will destroy everybody because we're latched onto it. Nobody leaves without it. Nobody can do anything. We sit here, we access it on the set. We use it. There's value in it. There's good, but there's so much bad. So much bad. I can open up anything inside of 5 seconds and I can find the worst that you could find. I can find anything on here. Like, I mean, just stop and imagine, just for a second. Be me, circa 1975 to say 82. Just that time frame where I'm going from adolescence to my middle school years before I go into high school. You couldn't find a person being shot in the head. You couldn't find somebody skydiving off of or base jumping off of a cliff. I could give you 10,000 examples that you could not physically go and find. You would have no way to research it. You would have no way to do it. This was pre-internet. Mm-hmm. This was before any of that stuff happened. You had, at one point, Encyclopedia Britannica, I think is what it was, which is just crazy because that was like your source information, and some guy would come and sell it to you in a book, and you'd open it up, and of course it was irrelevant the day he sold it to you because then there's information coming tomorrow. Well, this does all of that. It's a $1,000 computer. It's got more technology than the moon landing back in the day.
That's if you believe we went to the moon.
I do not believe the REM song. So I can go on a tangent all day long on this stuff. I'm thinking about even starting my own nighttime podcast, or I can just do my own Micah conspiracy theories at night of what I believe and just stay up all night and just drink. I don't drink energy drinks, but just sit there and just pound coffee. The reason I say all of this, Jared, is because right now we are. I mean, show me somebody who's not talking about potential end times, potential civil war. It's going to end in the coffin. Nobody's agreeing. Everybody's backed into corners. Everybody's being screamed at. We've got more information, more technology, more capability in this device, accessible to us. And where do I go to? Ronald Reagan. What was it like as a little boy growing up? What was it like to go out into a playground and get into a fight and punch each other in the face and you were still friends a week later? Nowadays, you get suspended from school. Your parents get brought in. You get charged. They put your name up on a billboard. You got to drive downtown, and everybody knows that Dave's kid is a horrible person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because we have no ability to discern anymore. Everything that we do is being told to us. Everything. Oh, smart TV. Stop it. So I said the insurance thing earlier. You put it into your ODB2 port, and it sounds like you're saving 15% a month on whatever insurance company you're using. No, what they're really doing is monitoring you. What about your smart TV? That's a pretty catchy term. Micah, the conspiracy theorist that is not a conspiracy theorist, this is just reality. Did you know your smart TV listens to you?
Yeah.
You know how you know it?
Your phone listens to you.
Yeah, it does. But do you know how your TV does? Because you can tell your TV what to do.
Yeah.
You could go, hey, TV, turn on Netflix. Hey, TV,
Alexa,
switch the channel. Yeah.
Siri.
Right. So you're...
My phone just popped up when I said
did it? So So not only is it doing it, it's algorithming you. It's figuring it out, right? So it happens in your phone all the time. You talk about something, you go home, and there's this thing. I said the other day, I got some jackets that I'm going to take down to Goodwill, but I want to get a new flannel jacket. I have got 22 ads a day popping up for flannel jackets. I've never accessed an ad. I've never looked up flannel jackets. Just all of a sudden it's there. And I'm like, but because we know it's there and we know we have to live life and we just put up with this stuff. And I don't think there's some dude. I think back in the day, we always thought this. There's 4 or 5 dudes, a bunch of nerds sitting in a room, listening to us on stuff and recording. And like, we're going to go get Micah. No, it's just algorithms. It's just tracking everything you do, and then that information is sold to somebody who sold to something else. By the time you put a thing up on the screen that says Netanyahu wants to partner with Trump because we want to do this thing and it's really important for mankind. Every time I hear somebody tell me or sell me on it's a good idea, the first thing I think is this is a bad idea. Every time. That's how cynical I've become. This is a really good idea. Okay, I'll listen, but I really don't think it's going to be a good idea. What I think it's going to be is somebody's way of manipulating to get something. And I hate being that way, but I've just become that way.
I don't know if there's much of another choice at this point, honestly. I mean, the best thing I will say, I'll go back and I'll restate. The best thing that I can think that Trump has done since he's been in office is throw UFC at the White House. That was probably one of the coolest things that he did. So I'll give him credit there where credit's due.
I'll echo that. I think that might be the coolest thing he's done.
That's probably been.
I don't know what's cool. It's more of a highlight for our nation, like patriotism.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, being a martial artist and all that, I appreciate that aspect of it. But actually throwing a celebration for 250 years, not being shy about celebrating the country, I appreciate that. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination anti-Trump. I'm definitely not just this pro-Trump's just doing everything perfectly either. I'm definitely somewhere in the middle. I voted for him. Do I think that he didn't do a lot of the things I was hoping that he was going to do? Yeah. I mean, it's obvious. We've talked about it on many episodes on this podcast since literally just a few months after he got into office, talking about him not releasing the JFK files again, not releasing the Epstein list originally.
Oh, which, by the way, has been out since how long?
Yeah, a long time. And still.
Take Trump and throw him out the window. What about Biden?
Yeah.
What about Trump? What about Obama? This thing goes way back, people.
It goes way back.
It goes way back. This is not when they're calling Trump a pedophile. Look, I have a really hard time when I hear that word anyway. But when you're saying he's a pedophile and he's on Epstein, people, this has been around since 2008. Yeah. When did Epstein not hang himself in jail?
Yeah. And have you seen that guy that's surfacing on pictures that looks just like him? They're saying that it's not him, but there's a guy that's like that looks just like him, and they're saying that it's a different guy, different name. It looks just like it's crazy. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
I saw Mitch McConnell dancing yesterday in a hospital room.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, with his wife.
So he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
Oh, interesting.
It didn't look AI at all. It looked to me like he got right up and just danced with her. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fascinating.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to just echo that our hope has never and is not supposed to be in the government here, in the people on this earth. It's supposed to be in one person. And whenever we're talking about all this stuff, we're talking about Israel, we're talking about what's going wrong, when all the control, all the manipulation, all the evil. I mean, here's the thing. The Epstein list, it's a real thing. There's real evil. And the level of involvement of anybody around the world, people should be held to account. There should be consequences for evil. And I think a lot of people are rightfully upset that we haven't seen those consequences. But I think that everything that we're looking at is pointing towards something that's way bigger of a picture. And I think it's important for us to wrap this episode up with discussing that. There's a lot of people speculating that what's happening in the Middle East, all of the conflict, everything, all the decisions, there's a lot of people speculating, yeah, this is definitely pointing toward end times. There's a lot of people saying this is pointing toward the beginning of a 7-year tribulation. We'll see. And I don't know, anybody out there, there's a whole theological debate on post-trib versus pre-trib. We actually talked about it a little bit.
We did?
We have on the show, but we talked about it a little bit yesterday in men's group and just talked about it. And I believe that there will be a rapture. That's what I believe. I believe that God is going to rapture his church. I think that one of the clearest examples we have of that being the kind of mercy that God has and love that he has for his people is actually being Enoch in the Old Testament. How really that's an example of someone who was raptured. He loved God. God loved him. God took him to be with him. And if he was willing to do that with Enoch, how much more would he be willing to do that with people that love him, that believe in Jesus Christ, and have pled and received and believe in that blood to cover their lives? So I do believe in a rapture. But regardless of whether anybody is pre-trib or post-trib, regardless or not, I've heard it wisely said, live like Jesus is coming back today, but plan like he's coming back about 5 years from now.
It's a good statement.
But I say all this to kind of give us a little bit of a pretext to end the conversation, rooted in the conversation that matters most, and that is tying all this back to faith. And whenever you held up your phone and said, this right here, downfall of humanity, I have said this on the show before, and I'll say this again. This is Matthew 24:14, and it reads like this, and this is important for each of us to understand. and to have a real respect for in the times that we're living in right now. It says this, and this is in KJV. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all the nations. And then the end will come. So this gospel, the gospel of Jesus Christ, the gospel of the kingdom of Jesus Christ, to which his government will know no end. That's the prophecy that Jesus fulfilled. It will be preached to the whole world as a testimony to all nations. Well, what you just now said is the downfall of humanity, referencing this. It would make perfect sense that this has really become a way, a conduit for all people all over the world to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ by way of being connected to the internet, by way of having devices that they can't help, especially right now since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and faith has been pretty much the forefront of so many conversations online. The gospel being preached, proclaimed, is what the word would mean, proclaimed to the whole world, to all nations. Well, I think there's a pretty valid argument, and there's something to take note of, that is happening in real time, definitely faster than it ever has, and to more people than it ever has by way of the internet. And then it says, and then the end shall come. So I think that there is a real conversation to have, and there's something really worth contemplating that, yeah, it's not too outlandish to think that we are looking at some of the last days that this world will have as the world knows it. And I mean, I'm not trying to be all doomsday or whatever. I'm hopeful. I believe in the rapture. I believe that's the way that people who believe in Jesus Christ think are going to be able to be spared from it. Whether we're spared from it or not, if we're still here for the tribulation, there's Christians that are going to be faithful regardless. But I'm hopeful because I have the promise. I already have the gospel. I've been reached with the gospel. I'm a witness to the gospel, and I'm therefore able to be an effective witness for the gospel. And that's the only thing in all of what we're going through in this world that gives me hope. And I think that's the only thing that really should and can give this entire world hope, is the gospel of Jesus Christ. That regardless of everything that's wrong, regardless of all the evil and corruption, there's someone who's really the king of all kings, and his government will know no end. So, just some interesting things that were coming to mind as we were continuing to dive into this conversation. But turn it back over to you. You're deep in thought over there.
I am. I woke up last night, 2 a.m., didn't go back to bed. I've been deep in thought for a lot of different things and stuff that would require an entire different episode. I'm troubled by some of the things that I'm seeing right now. Definitely troubled on the Colorado home front gubernatorial race, not because of the stock that I put in the person who's going to fix or destroy. What is bothering me is what I'm seeing that people are saying. And a house divided will fall, and there's just a lot going on. I won't go into it right now, but there's so much. It's so heavy. And to your point, that book right there. I mean, I don't know another way to say it. If you're not picking that up and reading it, you're missing it. What else? I mean, the book's in here too, by the way. Just so you know, it's in here. I just tend to trust the one that was printed in 1964 that I know hasn't been manipulated.
Rightfully so.
Because I've read a lot on here that context, when you put them two phones side by side, you pull up different versions of stuff. It's just crazy. But I don't want to go any further. I'm going to be grateful for what you ended with. I think it's important. I've got some thought processes on stuff that quite frankly, I will say this. When I sit down and I watch what some of the bigger names and all of the people, we talked about this on this episode several times, the big 6 or 7 in the conservative voice, all fighting against each other, tearing each other apart, name calling. Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens practically accusing each other of killing Charlie Kirk. I mean, just on and 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 on. I'm also seeing it in the pastor field with big name guys that are out there. And so when you, and look, they're just men, but when I look at it, one of the few people that are out there to me that I listen to that I think is the most level-headed is John Lovell. I pay a lot of attention to the Warrior Poet Society and what he says, because he actually mixes not only God's word, but his ability, his tactics, his thought processes on things that are coming and why and how to respond to them. So I listen to the Warrior Poet Society a fair amount. I think John does a good job, but there's a lot of division there too. And and so if the way I look at it is, when I look in the mirror, the way I gauge myself is like, well, am I saying this? Am I the only one saying this? No. When the whole world is talking about it, there's a problem, and the whole world's talking about a lot of big things right now that we're all experiencing.
Yeah.
And that's how you know this. So I think your summation earlier about, are we heading into possibly a 7-year deal? Yeah. I think it's very, very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said something very important that I have a passion for, and I believe God's put on my heart. I'm almost 1 year into pastoring now, and it's been a ride. It's been a journey, and I am so far from being just where I have arrived. It'll never happen. And anybody who thinks that it's going to happen, you're probably thinking wrong. You're always growing. We're always learning. We should always be teachable. And that's the point, is always growing, being teachable. Even Paul, there's scripture where after he's accomplished a lot and already written a lot of scripture, he says, what I counted as gain, I now count as loss. And he says it, I've lost it all. I gave it all up, all so that I may know Christ. He wanted to know Jesus. And even in this letter, as far along as he is in his ministry, he's still saying the pursuit of Christ, the pursuit of knowing who Jesus is everything. That's all that matters. And as we have been in this men's group, we've been going through some of the letters from Paul. Yesterday, we were in chapter 2 of Philippians. And it ties into what you just now said, in the pastoring world kind of being a lot of division right now. It bothers me. I don't want to be divisive. I also don't want to get it blatantly wrong.
Right. That's important.
I mean, Jesus, he said that he was going to divide even households, mother against daughter, he said it in his own words. So there's going to be division over who Jesus is. But that's also where the unity should come from, is who Jesus is. And that's exactly what Philippians chapter 2 opens up and calls us to, is unity. It calls us to be united. But then right after it does that, it tells us how. It gives us the blueprint. It says that we should not be trying to do everything in vainglory and trying to prop ourselves up, trying to promote ourselves, but that we should be serving others. We should be doing what we're doing as the body of Christ, to be there for others, to serve others. And then it points directly to Jesus, and that's where the scripture comes from that says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, being in the form of man, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but he took on anyways the form of a servant. So this is clearly pointing us to Jesus Christ, the way that we can look at him and his example and find unity in that. The only way unity is possible is if there's this humility, because that's what Paul's calling us to as believers. He's saying, humble yourselves. He's saying you have to have enough humility to serve each other. And he's saying that right after he says that we need to be united. We need to be united in Jesus, and the only way we can truly do that is to follow his example and to do everything we're doing out of love and in servitude, humbly for each other. I think that's the problem. And whenever I've looked at it, I think that that's where the division has come from, is there's so many different debates, arguments, conversations that have led so many people to want to just stand on, this is what's right. This is what I believe this scripture means. This is what I believe this means. And if you don't agree with me, I can't fellowship with you. And I'm going to tell all my friends, all my congregation, whatever it may be, we're not fellowshipping with them because we don't agree on tribulation, whether it's pre or post trib. There's so many examples.
Sure.
You can name them. But we're supposed to be united in Jesus Christ. That's what we're supposed to be united by. And it's supposed to be simple there. And I've been thinking a lot over the past month, 2 months, about the literacy rate that was brought to my attention, and I've been studying that a little more intentionally. The literacy rate historically, right now, there's never been a higher literacy rate than there is right now. People who can actually pick up a book and read it and understand it. Historically, the literacy rate has always been very, very, very low. Mm-hmm. I mean, even going back to World War II and going back before that, whenever we're talking about the the church as it's being formed, even as Paul's writing these letters, the literacy rate being really low. I mean, I'm not going to say nobody could read, but there was a lot of people that couldn't. And that being the case, we have to be able to trust the gospel of Jesus Christ to the effect of this. You're a part of the New Testament church. You're a part of the early church, talking about a couple decades after Jesus had actually walked this earth and had died, rose again, and ascended. And you are counting on people's accounts of who Jesus is. It's not just reading the word. And listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't read the word. Of course you should. We have a literacy rate. We have the advantage of being able to go to the source, and thank God for that. That is an advantage. But back in those times, to be able to just say, man, my grandpa, he knew Jesus. My grandpa knew Jesus. He saw him do this miracle. My grandpa was one of those 500 witnesses. My Aunt Betty, she was one of those 500 witnesses who saw Jesus after he was raised from the dead. And remembering that and being able to realize that that was the faith that they were able to be united by in Jesus Christ. It was all in him. And instead of all of these arguments that come from people reading it and deciding to interpret things differently, as long as we can measure on the major, that's what should unite us. There's people that have said major on the majors. I think that's wrong. I think the major is singular, and that is Jesus Christ. If we can all agree that Jesus Christ fulfilled the prophecy of the Old Testament, that he is, according to the book of Isaiah, whenever it says they shall call his name, wonderful, mighty God, Emmanuel, God with us, Prince of Peace, everlasting Father, and the government will be on his shoulders and it will know no end, that this is God manifest in the flesh. If we can agree, this is who Jesus Christ is. He is God, and he came to save us. He came so that we could be reconciled because of our wrongdoings. His blood saves us because it was blood that was worthy enough, that was sinless, that was blameless enough to be able to atone for the sins of the entire world. If we can just agree that that is Jesus Christ, that's supposed to be what unites us, and we should be able to let that truly unite the church. And it should be, regardless of any denominational guide rails or divisions or whatever, that this unites the church. If we were able to truly look at that through that lens, imagine how much more effective Christians would be in being able to unite for causes and fight against evil. If we could just unite over Jesus Christ, that's what we should all be able to agree on, and that's what we should be able to stand on effectively. I wish, and I'm sharing a lot right now, and that's just because this has been on my heart, it's been on my mind, because I don't want to get it wrong, but I think that getting it more wrong than I have convictions. I believe in rightfully dividing the word of God. I believe in that. But I also believe in the unity that Paul calls us to. And I believe in the letters that constantly correct people and tell people, hey, get your focus on Jesus Christ. Stop the arguments. Stop the vanities. Stop this. Just focus on Jesus Christ. I believe that has got to be the most important thing for pastors to focus on right now is Jesus Christ. And we can read the Bible and we can have our convictions and we can even teach those. But whenever it comes to preaching, whenever it comes to actually trying to unite Christians, the only way to do that is to be united through Jesus Christ. That's it. And so I just wanted to say that because it's been on my heart and my mind. As soon as you said that, that's immediately what I think about. I think about the politics that are happening all over the country, and I think about the politics happening in Colorado. Dude, I would have guessed when we started this podcast that we were going to be as involved in political conversations as we have been, interviewing all the gubernatorial candidates. We've got more episodes coming up with other significant political figures. And I'm thankful for those opportunities. I'm thankful to have those conversations. But more importantly than anything, as of right now, I think that most people could agree Colorado, as far as the politics goes, as far as the government goes, Colorado's fallen. Colorado's fallen. Could it be redeemable? Could we get back? Sure. But I don't think it's going to be by anybody getting in the government's office and the governor's office. I think it's going to be by Christians uniting through Jesus Christ and fighting, pushing back that darkness. Because here's the thing. You can go to so it's just like they call Colorado a sanctuary state for all kinds of evil things. There's other states that they call sanctuary states for conservative and for Christian values. But light is supposed to shine in the darkness. So if Colorado remains in this fallen and corrupt state, it's the greatest discipleship opportunity of our lifetime, as you have so gracefully said many times on this podcast, that light can shine here. And I think we have to have an attitude just like Paul, that whenever he's looking at his situation, he never said that I'm a prisoner of Rome. He never said I'm a prisoner of Nero. In his letters, he constantly says, I'm a prisoner of Jesus Christ. Even though he's sitting in a prison cell, he says he doesn't identify as being a prisoner of that prison. So we shouldn't identify ourselves as prisoners of this fallen state of Colorado. No, we're prisoners of Jesus Christ. And wherever we're at, we're here for a reason. And God's called us to minister, to be a light, to be salt wherever we are. And I think of that being where we're at in Colorado right now. I'm here for a reason. And do I wish that government things would change? Do I wish that there would be better policies? Do I wish there would be better leadership? Of course I do. But as fallen as we are, as dark as it is, this is the opportunity for light to shine bright into all the darkness that's plaguing Colorado. This story I heard, and this is where I'm going to end it at. I heard this story of another Paul. That's a more recent Paul. This guy's name was Paul Cooper. And I came across this story, and this is gripping. This guy's name's Paul Cooper, and he felt a call to preach early in his life. And he started to pursue that. He wanted to go to this Bible college. There was a pastor there. His name was Pastor Gibbs. He was also an attorney. And Paul Cooper, he went to the dentist. They found a sore in his mouth. And the dentist said, I don't know what this is. You're going to need to get further advice. And so they went through a couple different doctors and found out that Paul had pretty bad cancer. And they found out that it was all over his body, and he was admitted right away. And Pastor Gibbs, he's the one who recounts the story, and he says he got a call from Paul Cooper. He's in the hospital, and he says, Pastor Gibbs, can you please come visit me? I need help. And Pastor Gibbs goes and visits him, and he says, Pastor Gibbs, when he's walking into this hospital room, there's blood dripping out of Paul's eyes. There's blood dripping out of his mouth. He was just so clearly, visibly ill. The cancer had metastasized into his blood. He did not have much longer. But whenever Pastor Gibbs goes into his hospital room, Paul says, Pastor Gibbs, every single person on this floor of this hospital, all the doctors and nurses, they have heard the name of Jesus Christ. They know who Jesus is. He said, I need your help. He said, I thought that I was called to be a preacher and a pastor of a church somewhere, but it's so clear to me God has called me and purposed me to be a pastor, a minister right here in this hospital. And I've ministered to everyone that I can on this floor, but the floor beneath me is filled with children, and they're all terminally ill. They're all going to die. And I have to go to that floor. I know God wants me to go down there and shine a light on these kids. And they won't let me, Pastor Gibbs. And he said, so I need you to threaten to sue the hospital. And Pastor Gibbs says, I don't know about that. And he said, Pastor Gibbs, I have to go downstairs. This is what God has called me to do. And Pastor Gibbs says, okay, I'll go try to find a wheelchair, and we'll try to do this. So Pastor Gibbs says he walks out of the hospital room. He goes and gets a wheelchair, and he's wheeling it back to the room, trying to be sneaky. A nurse stops and says, where are you going with that? And he says, listen, you may not want to know. I've got a client. He's thinking about suing. And she says, I didn't see anything. And he goes into the hospital room with Paul, and he said that it took 2 hours to get Paul out of there, because he told Paul, he said, all these tubes and everything that's in you, how are we going to do this? And he said, and Paul said, this is what God wants me to do. This is what I've got to do this. And so they get him into the wheelchair. They go down to that floor with all of these kids that are terminally ill, and they go room to room. And Pastor Gibbs says that 80% or more of every kid on that floor prayed and had faith in Jesus Christ. And so this, to me, shows a modern day Paul, to where you may not be a prisoner of Rome in a jail cell somewhere, but what was meant to be a prison in a hospital bed or in a hospital while you are given this diagnosis of only a couple more days to live, a couple more weeks to live. Instead of thinking I'm a prisoner to this situation, Paul Cooper, he was just like Paul in the New Testament and realized, no, I'm a prisoner to Jesus Christ. I belong to him, and I'm here for a reason, and this is to advance the gospel. This is to tell people about Jesus Christ. To me, that's everything. That's where we're supposed to look at our situation like. Even here in Colorado, as much as it is corrupt and evil, this is our mission field. We're not a prisoner of Colorado. We're a prisoner of Jesus Christ, and that's a good thing. It's not about being an actual prisoner. It's about being captivated. It's about being so utterly, entirely captivated by who Jesus is, to the point where you know what he's done for you. You know how much he loves you, and you know that it's worth everything to know him and to make him known. So I'll end my portion on that. Sorry, I know it went a long time, but I don't know. A lot came to mind and heart whenever we were ending this episode. I think that right now we have a chance. We have a chance to unite over what matters most.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you said a lot, but you said all the right things. About halfway through the beginning of what you were saying, and this isn't to take away, please don't hear mocking God. That's not what I'm saying. But I had a thought when you were about halfway through. Every time you use Jesus or God, the way you were talking in a positive, if we could just this and this and this, I thought, well, that'd be cool to be able to say United States in place of God in the same way. Wouldn't it be great if we could just all come together? Wouldn't it be great if we could just work together? Wouldn't it be great if we could believe in something bigger than ourselves? And you just kind of went down that list. And so I'm saying it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the truth of the matter is I think we want to see our country saved. I think. Maybe not. Maybe we've gotten to a point of no return and people just want to destroy it. But to the second half of everything you said, especially ending with that story, which is powerful because at the end of the day, look, people will do a lot of things in their last moments. We've all heard stories like that, right? So does this guy have anything to lose? No, of course not. So he's going to go do it. But is he doing it because it's like, I got to go right this wrong, I've screwed up? Or is he convicted in his belief in the way you share that story? Is that conviction? Is if I don't get down there? So, I think it's a perfect place to end to say, we're all called. Whether or not you do it, that's between you and your Creator. Mm-hmm. I can't force anybody to do anything. But at the end of the day, I'll say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Love the person, hate the evil. And right now we got a lot of evil. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of social media that all you do is open it up and go, oh my gosh, and it feels overwhelming. My encouragement is for everybody to just take a step back, open up that book, and just breathe and read a little bit and see how you feel after. I think you'd be surprised, as opposed to picking up and looking for the next thing that will tick you off.
Yeah.
Because that's easy, right? You want to go looking for a problem, you'll find a problem.
Yeah.
I will end mine, actually, on the thing that you did. I didn't realize all that stuff that happened out front with the crosses. I think it's pretty cool that you went out there and found it, and then not only cleaned it up, but doubled down and spread them out. But that matters. It will. Because you may never know the guy driving down the roadway that sees that.
Yeah.
That goes home and goes, something's been heavy on him, or he's going through whatever the situation is, and it changes him. Just nothing more than just the visual. So, as I've said a handful of times, I really do try to do this. It's very challenging. It's not easy. I'll tell you, it's hard. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. But you might be the only version of a Bible somebody ever reads.
Yeah, it's true.
Be the right version.
Amen to that.
So,
amen to that. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed that conversation on Paul and being a prisoner of Jesus Christ, you can actually go to Victory Church Castle Rock on YouTube. That was the sermon on Sunday, A Prisoner of Jesus Christ. So if you're interested in continuing that conversation and contemplating that, go listen to that, and you may find encouragement in that. Hopefully somebody will. But we've got a lot of exciting things coming up over the next few weeks. We are working on solidifying a date for the Shoot and Pod gubernatorial shootout series with Greg Lopez and his running mate, Tara Lynn Romero. And then we also are about to have Tig and Priscilla Teigen on the show. That's going to be in a couple weeks.
August 4th. Yeah.
August 4th. So we're working on that. Also working on a couple other guests, having conversations with people. So stay tuned. A lot of exciting things coming. And, of course, we've got other things that are on the calendar already. August 1st, we're doing the Top of the Rock Open Mat. Everyone's welcome. We're meeting at the base of the Rock Park at 9 a.m. And then August 15th is Gang Wars 3. That's going to be in the parking lot right here at the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team. It's going to be awesome. And then we have August 29th, next PBG Open. And then September 12th is the next JWI 7. It's going to be huge. And then, of course, every single week we've got classes. We're running at the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team every day. Oodalali Coffee is open. Come see us. Come give us a visit. We appreciate the support. We'd love to see you. And then, of course, if you're looking to get involved in Bible studies and community here, we've got Monday morning men's group, 5:45 a.m. And then on Wednesdays at 5 p.m., we have the ladies' Bible study at the coffee shop. So lots of exciting things happening. Stay tuned, stay plugged in, and if you enjoyed this episode, please help us get the word out. If you don't mind to share it with somebody, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. That helps us out a lot. We really appreciate you guys, and we're going to close this episode out the way that we always do, and it is your turn to close us out, sir.
I'm on it. Father God, what a great opportunity to sit down this morning, much discussed, and on the most important note, I resonate with what Jared said, but I also want to resonate what Jared said by saying that this is a time of opportunity and discipleship, and our world is wayward. So if you're a follower, it's not time to sit at home. It's time to get out. It's time to fight. It's time to go in the face of evil and approach things and get after it. I would ask protection over our families, watch over them, and I want to thank you for the answer to prayers of watching over all those men and women overseas, and especially those on board the USS Tripoli, because they are now coming home. Looking forward to seeing my baby girl again. So it's in your son's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Till next time.
Till next time.